In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live, and we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. If you're brand new to Jimmy Rants, head on over to JimmyRants.com. You'll see how the magic works. We start off on Instagram, so go follow me on Instagram at Living Low Carb Man, LivinLowCarbman. Once you're there, you can engage live, just like all these awesome people are doing right now, coming in, and you can watch it for 24 hours on replay on Instagram. But it does disappear after 24 hours, so go check out all the past episodes, you guys, over on YouTube. So type in a keyword Jimmy Rants and a YouTube search. You will find the show. And then finally, we have a Jimmy Rants podcast, which has the best of the best moments of this here show, JimmyRants.com. Today's Jimmy Rants is one of the special once-a-week simulcasts that we do with both Jimmy Rants and my Monday podcast called the Nutritional Pearls Podcast. And of course, that means that we have the lovely, the beautiful, the talented, the amazing Christine Moore.
Hey.
What'd I call you a few weeks ago? Seymour?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Seymour.
Yeah.
So Christine is a nutritional therapy practitioner. And so she said, I've been doing a lot of research on a connection to a lot of things that people in the ketogenic world are doing that may be making their health compromised. I was like, oh, please tell me more. And so she wanted to talk about that there's certain foods that people like to eat in the keto community that may not necessarily be a good idea. So why don't we talk about some of the foods first? What are some foods that, and we're going to get to the why here in a minute, but what are some of those foods that people are eating right now on keto that are in general really healthy for them, but could be problematic for some people?
So any of your cured meats like pepperoni, salami,
Bacon?
bacon,
Sausage?
bacon's it can be. So those can be problems. Avocados can be problems.
Avocado?
Yeah, spinach can be a problem.
What?
Your fruits like strawberries.
Oh, I'm okay with no strawberries.
Your citrus fruits can be
Oh,
a
I don't
problem.
eat citrus
Yeah,
fruits.
well, I mean, yeah.
What are the keto foods?
Let's see.
Nuts?
Yeah, some nuts like walnuts.
That's just nuts.
Yeah, chestnuts I think are on there. I can't remember.
Chestnuts roasting on an open
and
fire.
Peanuts. We typically don't eat peanuts because they're
Right.
considered a legume, but those can be problems. And then raw egg. If you are one of those people that like raw egg, for whatever reason,
Adrian!
they can be a problem. A lot of your sour creams, any of your fermented foods, like kombucha, kimchi, kefir, anything like that. Alcohol can be a problem.
Alcohol! Uh-oh, we just lost like 3/4 of
I know. And then one of my favorites, chocolate, can be a problem.
Okay, so maybe some of those foods and or beverages are things that you're currently consuming on your ketogenic diet. If you're just joining us, this is the once a week podcast called the Nutritional Pearls Podcast that I do with that beautiful lady right there. And what we do on this show is we try to highlight some aspect of your nutrition and lifestyle that could be giving you problems that you may not even think about. So today we are zeroing in on this thing called histamines. So all of that big long list of foods that are all keto friendly.
Yeah.
What's the common denominator with them?
They're all high histamine containing foods, which means they help exacerbate the histamine response in the body.
All right, so a lot of you might be hearing this word histamine for the first time. Maybe you've heard of like medications that are antihistamines. So we're going to get deep into what histamines are, their relationship to your food, but not just your food, some of your lifestyle choices. Those of you that are chronically stressed, that's no bueno. You don't want to be doing that. So why don't we define terms? What is the histamine, or what is a histamine, and why is it in the body to begin with?
So a histamine is a neurotransmitter that communicates from the body to the brain. And a histamine is responsible, one of the things responsible for the, I just went blank, the immune response. So
if you cut your hand, it helps to heal, brings the inflammation about?
well, that's where saturated fat comes in. So there are
Oh.
two different things, but histamine response, basically, it works along with all those other things, and it clears the way for the white blood cells to get to the site of whatever's going on. So they do work together, and those things, that's just basically what the histamine response is.
But it is a part of the immune system,
Yes.
is what I'm hearing you
Yes, it
say.
is part of the
So
immune system.
having a healthy immune system, I assume, related to your gut health as well, that all of that would then impact how your body responds to histamines?
Yeah, so we're naturally supposed to have a histamine response, but the problem comes in when we can't produce an enzyme called diamine oxidase. Diamine oxidase is what helps break down these histamines. And so if you have poor gut health and then you put on top of that foods that kind of increase the histamine response, you're kind of overloading your body, and you may either be diamine oxidase deficient or it's just not able to keep up. And so that's when you start having these symptoms of watery eyes, sneezing, abdominal pain, headaches, fatigue, hives, rashes, anything like that.
All right, so maybe you've had some of those foods that we mentioned earlier, and if you're just joining us, a lot of the foods that we like to eat on a ketogenic diet, things like avocados, things like eggs, raw eggs, not many of us eat raw eggs, but eggs.
I don't.
Even like dark chocolate and fermented foods, which are really good for your gut health, could be exacerbating this issue known as histamines in the body. And so we're talking about this histamine connection to your immune system. What happens if you let histamines go out of control and they're not brought under control by avoiding these histamine foods and some other things that might be making them bad? What happens in the body?
So this is where you experience those symptoms that I just talked about, and there's so many of them, but runny nose, watery eyes, sneezing, hives, rashes, fatigue, headaches, migraines, abdominal issues, digestive issues, fatigue, a lot of things.
Other than that, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
So, and we've talked about before, I believe on the last episode, about the habitual problem of low stomach acid, and there's actually a connection to stomach acid and this issue of histamines, right?
Yeah, so histamines is actually in the stomach acid, and these things help break down our foods properly.
Yeah.
Yep. This is why, well, we'll get into that later. I'll
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's why B6 and zinc are very important for, I've mentioned to you before that zinc and B6 are really necessary for stomach acid production, but it's also good for histamine intolerances too.
So a lot of people are hearing about histamine intolerance, and they're wondering, okay, it's related to these foods that you mentioned earlier. So does that mean I have a food allergy or a food intolerance? Are they the same?
They're actually not the same. They may produce similar symptoms, but food allergies can be life-threatening. Histamine responses are not life-threatening.
And food sensitivities are also not life-threatening.
No.
Is it safe to say, though, that if you get a histamine response to eating some of those foods we talked about earlier, that's a food sensitivity?
Yeah, they kind of work together. I think that for you, when you ate those eggs over and over again, there was something in them that kind of irritated your body. And so what can happen is if you continue to eat those foods, that histamine response gets so overwhelming and you don't have enough of the diamine oxidase to break down those histamines that you'll start experiencing those symptoms of the runny nose or watery eyes or whatever.
So what she's referring to is last year, because we have backyard chickens and I have instant access to all the eggs I could ever eat, I was eating a lot of eggs. And so probably every single day I was having at least 4 to 6 eggs every single day. And I got a food sensitivity test, and both the yolks and the whites both came back 5 times off the charts high for food sensitivity. And so you're saying, Christine, that it's possible I may have had a histamine response to those eggs because of repeated use.
I would say that if you kept going, you would have probably started experiencing those symptoms because...
Right, I was asymptomatic.
Right, so at that point, I don't think they were a histamine intolerance issue.
But it was on its way.
Right, yeah. So the food is not a histamine intolerance. It's
how the body responds
how the
to
body
the food.
responds, yeah. So
Right.
it's not really the food itself, but how the body responds to those foods.
So because histamines, when they are raised, increase inflammation levels in the body, is it safe to say that if you see like an inflammation marker in the body, like a HSCRP go up, that could be a sign that there is a histamine response going on that you may not know about?
It could be. Unfortunately, there's really no definitive
test.
way to test if you've got a histamine intolerance. Yeah, you can test your blood and urine, but it's not really, they really don't correlate. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to do an elimination diet to see if that's what's going on. Unfortunately, that's really the only really good way to test.
So the elimination diet would include all of those foods we talked about at the very beginning, even some of the very healthy foods for your body. If you're just joining us, fermented foods and avocados and nuts and bacon, other cured meats, all of these things are very healthy keto foods, but for some people, they instigate a histamine response. So maybe you're consuming really healthy, good foods in your ketogenic diet, and you're wondering, why in the world am I getting symptomatic of some of these things that we're talking about here today? This could be the issue. So they just have to eliminate all of those foods and slowly work them back in?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the best way to do it. You really don't know if you try to add more than one food back in at a time, or if you're eliminating one food at a time, you're really not going to know because it could be something else that's causing the problem.
So in that context, I'm going to put your NTP hat on fully here. Devise what a keto plan would be without high histamine foods. What would it look like on a plate?
So your meats, they would have to be fresh and not cured or smoked.
I can go shoot me a deer out there and eat it real quick.
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's something about it being fresh. You can have
grass-fed?
Yeah, that's even better. You can have cooked eggs. Can't be raw.
So burn them bad boys.
They wouldn't taste good then.
Crispy.
A lot of your vegetables, except for spinach and there was one other, eggplant. That was another one, another problem child. So
eggplant
most of your
Parmesan.
vegetables are okay, so you're doing good there. And then let's see, what else can you have?
Butter? Any fats?
Yeah, you can.
Are there
you
any
can,
problems with fats?
You can have. You just can't have the sour creams or any of the sour things like that.
Yeah, coconut foods are all fine.
So you can have coconut oil. You can have olive oil.
Avocado oil.
yeah.
Oh no, avocados.
Oh no, not yeah, avocado. I was thinking
I
olive.
tricked her.
Yeah,
I was
you did.
testing her.
I was thinking olive oil. You can have.
Avocado.
Yeah, you can have olive oil.
But the avocado oil would be off because of the sensitivity with the histamine.
Exactly, it would. And then some of your fruits, there's really not many fruits. If you can tolerate a few more carbs, cantaloupe or honeydew are okay.
But not the strawberries.
But not the strawberries, yeah, no.
Or the blueberries?
Blueberries are fine, yeah.
Okay.
They're actually considered low.
And blackberries?
I'm not sure about blackberries. I don't want to make a definitive comment there.
But
yeah,
blueberries for
blueberries,
sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it's easy to do, but you know, unfortunately, a lot of us that do the ketogenic diet, we do like the pepperoni, the bacon, we rely on fermented foods for gut health, and we like chocolate, dark chocolate. We like the sour cream, and some of us, I don't, but alcohol.
Well, and let's be clear, all of those foods are extremely healthy for
Yeah.
most people eating a ketogenic diet. How many people, do you have statistics on the percentage of people that have a histamine response to these foods?
I actually don't. I mean, that's fascinating. I need to look that up.
Because I would wonder if it's only 10% of the population, it's just 1 out of 10 of you guys are
It's
screwed.
not a lot. I know that it's not a lot because it's obviously something that's not being talked about a lot except in little niche things. So,
Right.
yeah, it lends me to believe that not a lot of people deal with it.
So for the people just joining us, we're talking about histamines today, and we're talking about its connection to maybe some of your favorite keto foods. It's not just related to food. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but it is related to a lot of your favorite keto foods. So quickly, for the people that might have just joined us, what are some of the symptoms that they might want to be on the lookout that they've just ignored because it's been maybe subclinical for them? They didn't really feel horrible, but they've just noticed little signs. What are those signs?
The watery eyes, any nasal problems like, watery eyes, stuffy nose, coughing. You could have headaches, migraines, fatigue, abdominal issues. So many things, yeah.
Can't you just pop an antihistamine and that takes care of it?
Well, I mean, you can, but that's not really getting to the root cause because a lot of times with these issues, they come as a result of gut health issues and an
So it's a
overgrowth.
Band-Aid to put an antihistamine.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. All right, and so besides food, there are things that we're doing in our lifestyle that could be making this bad too. We mentioned earlier, if you're one of those chronic stressors, that would be a big one, right?
Yep.
What else?
So certain medications that you take might cause problems. So anything that would interfere with the immune response, any heart medications, any antidepressants, any liver diseases, anything that affects the immune system can interfere with the diamine oxidase from doing its job.
All right, so we've talked about how gut health is heavily related to this issue. So is it safe to say that if people do proactive things to help heal their gut, that would help them improve their response to histamines?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, because histamine intolerances can come as a result of gut health issues, if you can heal your gut, if you're making sure that you're producing enough stomach acid, then over time, it may take a while, but you can probably see improvements in your intolerances to those foods. It just may take a long time because you don't get there overnight and you can't heal overnight.
Right. All right, so what have we not talked about regarding this histamine issue before we get to their questions? What's some other information we haven't shared yet?
So some nutrients, if you find that you do have a histamine intolerance, some nutrients that are good for that, B1, B6, which is also good for stomach acid. Remember, histamines are involved, or it's in the stomach acid too. B9, B12, copper, zinc, magnesium, manganese, and vitamin C. Some of those nutrients increase the diamine oxidase production. Some of them just overall help the immune response in general.
What's fascinating is a lot of those things are in some of those foods that you're now having to take out because of their histamine response. So you're getting some good, but a lot of bad, and so you're kind of trying to balance it. So all of those things you just rattled off, is that in supplement form that you should take them, or are there foods that they could get a lot of those kinds of things into their diet?
I think in this case, you always want to try to get your nutrients from real whole foods, and this is where organ meats can come into play. They're full of nutrients. But I think in some cases you may need to supplement, especially with zinc, and then, vitamin C, You have to be careful with copper because too much copper can cause a zinc deficiency. So they
And vice versa.
use the same pathway. Yeah. So, and you can take a B complex that has all the B vitamins in there. So yeah, it just depends on how you do. If you can get all your nutrients from your food, then I'd say do it that way. But I think for most of us, we would need to supplement.
This lady here gives me a B complex sometimes. Just kidding. All right, so guys, the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants Nutritional Pearls podcast crossover episode is that there is a histamine connection to what your favorite keto foods are. And not just the foods. Hopefully you've learned quite a bit today that it's so much more than just eat keto foods and all your woes go away. Some of you are going to have to deal with this histamine thing, so definitely deal with it sooner than later. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Welcome in, welcome in. Beth says, hi, Mama Bear.
Hi.
Too many almonds give me a rash, says Brett.
That's probably a histamine.
That's histamine.
Yep. That's probably a histamine response. Yep.
So just
And
Brett should cut them out.
Yeah, and remember, histamines are necessary in the body, but it's how our body deals
Overabundance
with those.
of it.
If it's constantly being introduced, that response,
Right.
then the diamine oxidase can't keep up, and that's when you start feeling the symptoms.
So if Brett eliminated those almonds for a period of time, 30, 60 days, and then reintroduced them and maybe had them every 3-4 days instead of every day, that would be an option if he didn't have any symptoms?
Yeah, I would try it. Definitely eliminate it for a period of time and slowly add them back to see how you do. If you find that you still have the response, then keep them out for a bit longer and see how you do it. I would look at maybe your underlying issues if you have gut health issues, if you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria.
Does it ever fully heal if you get that kind of a histamine response for like Brett, it's almonds, but does it ever fully heal that if he left them out for say a year, could that heal that histamine response? Obviously he'll have to do other things in his gut health and whatever the underlying issue is, but can it fully heal?
It depends on your situation. I mean, if you are deficient in that enzyme, diamine oxidase, then yeah, you might have some issues. And like some of those supplements you can take, like vitamin C, will boost diamine oxidase production, but you still may have problems. It's like for people that are lactose intolerant, they're lacking the enzyme lactase to break down the lactose. So it may be one of those situations, and you might just need to keep it out. But that's where doing the elimination and then adding them back for a period of time helps.
No keto baking for you, Brett. No almond flour
That's
treats.
gonna hurt.
CKS of 3G is asking about meat. I think we talked about the cured meats.
Yeah.
We also talked about some smoked fish. Were there any other meats besides cured meats and smoked fish?
Oh, sorry. No, but I mean, basically, it's free reign for if it's fresh meat, you're okay. And then certain fish, and I'm trying to remember what they are that are okay.
Mackerel, sardines.
The sardines are problem children.
Oh.
Mackerel are problem
Okay.
children. So
Just avoid the seafood in
salmon,
general.
I think, is okay.
Oh, I love salmon.
Yeah, salmon's really good. That's my favorite. So, but again, these meats have to be fresh. And then your vegetables, the canned vegetables are problems, so they need to be fresh vegetables. And of course, like I said, anything other than eggplant or spinach, you can pretty much do.
Happy you're here, says Jesse. Thank you, Jesse. You're breaking my heart, says loving every minute of ketosis. Yeah, no, we're trying to educate, because if you don't know, then you can't really make an informed decision about what's good for you. All we're saying here is be perceptive about how you're responding to certain foods that you think you're doing really well in your ketogenic diet. Suddenly you're eating avocados and you're getting a histamine response from it and you don't know it. And you keep eating them and you wonder, why, man, this keto thing sucks. Every time I eat keto, I start scratching and I start watering your eyes and sneezing. It could be histamine. So we're trying to inform you guys. Avocado, a problem? Eating a whole one now. Got here late, says TJ Schwingle. Well, it may not be a problem for you. And what we're saying here is it may not be a problem for most people.
Right, yeah, it depends. I think it's a very small portion of the population that actually has a histamine intolerance. And again, the histamine intolerance isn't necessarily to the food, but it's how the
How your body reacts
deals,
to the food.
Yeah. So for most people, avocados are probably fine. But if you are having other issues, if you're under a lot of stress, if you're taking certain medications, if you have poor gut health, then these foods may be a problem because of the histamines that they produce.
Okay, mention what the medications are, because this was a really fascinating list, you guys, of the medications that can exacerbate histamine.
Oh, it's anything from heart medication to antidepressants to aspirin and
NSAIDs.
naproxen. Yeah, NSAIDs because they interfere with the immune response.
That's pain medications for, yeah.
Oh gosh, let me think.
Didn't you say the anti-anxiety meds,
Yes,
like Paxil and...
yeah, antidepressants, antipsychotics, any medicines that you would take for the liver.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's
It's
wide.
so many.
Yeah, it's a wide variety.
So if you're taking medications, know that that could be exacerbating this issue as well. My nose seems to run anytime I eat bacon or sausage,
Yep.
says CKS of 3G. I do not eat link sausage. It's hard to find any without soy or sugar. I'm guessing that is a histamine reaction, or do I have a sensitivity?
It
Sounds like a histamine
It
reaction.
sounds like a histamine reaction based on the type of food that it is, because
And the symptom.
that is a high histamine containing food, or it produces that response. So yeah, I would try eliminating it for a while and see what happens.
And all I have to go is
I know, right?
stick my bottom lip out, because that sucks. Some people, these histamines only affect you if you're already compromised, says Jesse.
Yeah, that's true, and that's why I was saying that if you have gut health issues, if you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, if you're under a lot of stress, your immune system is going to be compromised. So what happens when you're under a lot of stress? You're pumping out the cortisol, and that depresses the immune response. So yeah, it's definitely something to look at. If you find that you have these intolerances, I would look at what's going on in your digestive tract and system.
Let's see. While Jimmy, somebody's saying they could notice I lost weight.
Oh.
Thank you for that. Consistent use could build up a resistance. I'm not sure what loving every minute of ketosis. Not sure what you're asking there. I think she's saying if you have a consistent use of food, could you build up a resistance? I would think just the opposite.
Well, I mean, just like what happened with you with the eggs, you were eating a lot those eggs, and you
Yes.
developed a sensitivity. And
Yes.
if he had kept going, his body wouldn't have been.
Symptomatically, it would have been bad.
Yeah, but those were cooked eggs, so I think in
Right.
that instance it was
Wasn't
different.
histamine, right.
Yeah. So, but if you're constantly having these foods, you're constantly eliciting that histamine response in the body, and this is where the body can get overloaded, and you'll start feeling those symptoms. So I think continuing to eat those foods is going to be a problem.
Got it. Is there a lab test to find out specifically about these histamines? No, Liz, there's not, sadly. So that's why we're mentioning what the symptoms are of these histamines when they start to react. And really the only way you can deal with them properly, because there's no medication that deals with it other than antihistamines, but it never
Zyrtec
heals
or
the
whatever.
problem
Yeah, you're
of
just-
what's going on.
Yeah, you're putting a Band-Aid over it. Like
Right.
I said, you can test the histamine levels in your blood and urine, but they don't correlate to an intolerance. So that's why the elimination diet is the best way to go.
And here's the thing, your doctor may not know about this issue either, which is why going to a nutritional therapy practitioner like Christine would be helpful, because that's how you know she can definitely help you be a sleuth into your health there, and looking at these symptoms, not just for how can we cover up the symptom, but what's causing that symptom. So if you want to hire Christine, rebootingyournutrition.com. She is taking clients now, right?
Yep.
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 If you eat something and your stomach aches, this only happened to a specific food. Would this be a sensitivity or an allergy response? So that's a different question, Keisha Farrar, than what we're talking about with histamine. But could it be a histamine response?
I mean, it could be, but it depends on what's going on in the stomach. A lot of times, if you're experiencing, let's just say diarrhea, that's your body's way of getting rid of a food that is a problem. Now, whether that's a histamine response or not, it may be just a food sensitivity.
Yeah.
A lot of times with intolerances, histamine intolerances, you'll also experience rapid heart rate, an increase in blood pressure, that sort of thing. So
Got it.
It depends.
Got it. Is this a reason to switch our foods up, or are we going to have a histamine response from the get-go with certain foods? Oh, that's a good question, Beth. Thank you for that. So she's wanting to know if you have a predisposition for this, are you just going to have this issue anyway, or is this a reason why you should have variety in your diet on a daily basis?
It depends. For some people, it depends on their overall health. If they have good gut health, but they're still having a problem, it's probably they're deficient in the diamine oxidase, which breaks down those histamines. So for them, I mean, it may be necessary to keep those foods that I think for most people, they could probably switch things up and be just fine, but it depends on the severity of your gut health issues and things like that.
Is there an exogenous form of this diamine oxidase enzyme that people could take if they were deficient in it so that it would prevent this histamine issue? Are you aware?
That is, I am not aware. I know that you can supplement with vitamin C and zinc to increase the production of diamine oxidase.
But that would be like precursors to it, not actual.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like an exogenous ketone. I wonder if there's an exogenous source of that enzyme.
That's a very good question. I need to look that up.
I stumped the expert today. It's a good thing I'm into intermittent fasting, says Liz, with all the elimination. Yes,
Right.
After you eliminate all those foods, you by default are fasting. Could a histamine response cause blood glucose to go up, says Barb Harrington, and I would even by extension of that also say, will it increase your blood insulin levels as well? And you would think it would because of the increase in the inflammatory markers that this is causing, right?
Yeah, I would definitely.
And cortisol.
I would definitely say that because a histamine response like that, or an inability to deal with the histamines, it's putting stress on your immune system, and so that's a form of stress. So yeah, I would definitely say an increase in blood sugar, and as a result, insulin could happen.
Now, isn't that interesting? You eat avocados and nuts and all these foods to lower your inflammation in your body, and yet they could be indirectly, because of this histamine issue, increasing your inflammation. So if you're getting some funky monkey numbers on your blood markers and you're wondering how in the world I'm eating the best keto foods in the world, this histamine issue could be why. Is there an easy access histamine list? Jesse wants to know.
As far as foods go, yeah, you can go online and you can type in
Histamine foods?
Yeah,
High histamine?
histamine-rich foods, and then low histamine foods, and there's tons of information.
Dr. Google is your friend. Dr. Ben Lynch's Dirty Genes has more about this, says Dina. Thank you for that, Dina. It's a dirty DAO gene that causes most histamine reactions. That's good information. Thank you for that. Best gut health keto foods. Now, that's an interesting one, Jesse, because one of the things that we would say if we were just talking gut health is fermented foods, but they cause the histamine reaction. So best non-histamine reacting gut health foods.
Wow. Fresh meats.
Fresh meats. Mic drop.
Vegetables that other than spinach or eggplant.
Right.
Cooked eggs. We don't eat a lot of fruit, but you can do the blueberries.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Would a B complex cover the B vitamins? Yeah, that's what a B
Yes.
complex is. It's the entire B family of vitamins. I have elevated zinc, but I don't know why. No zinc supplementation whatsoever. It's just high. Is there a reason why zinc would be high? Is it a copper issue?
Copper and
Copper's too
copper,
low?
Copper is too low. Yeah, they both use the same pathway. So I
So
would.
what is her copper? That's what we'd want to know, Jesse.
Yeah, I would maybe try.
Up your copper?
It's really tricky because if you start taking too much copper, then you'll be deficient in zinc. So, wow.
But she's very high in zinc now, so
Yeah,
she could
I would
try small amounts
yeah,
of copper to see if it comes down.
Try small amounts of copper and see what happens. That's
Gotcha.
yeah. They use the same pathway, so an overabundance in one means you're very deficient in another one.
She should have killer stomach
know,
acid,
right?
though, because that zinc is really as efficient in stomach acid. Plus, you don't get sick when you do a lot of zinc, have a lot of zinc. So, could you get histamine intolerance from the food because you haven't exposed yourself to it very much in the past, so the body reacts to it like a foreign substance? I only ask because you talked about overexposure, says Keisha.
I would say, again, it depends on your situation. If you do, as mentioned before, have that gene, I guess, that doesn't let you produce enough diamine oxidase, then you could have problems even if you don't eat those foods a lot. But I would say, for the most part, if you don't have problems with those foods, it depends on your other circumstances. Are you under a lot of stress? What is your overall health? If you're overall healthy, then these foods won't probably cause you problems.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I take a B complex with 20 milligrams of B6. Is that enough, says Susan?
The thing about B vitamins is that
If you overconsume, you pee them out.
you pee it out. It's one of those that you pee it out.
Because they're water soluble.
They're water soluble, yeah. So
See, I'm learning stuff from this lady.
a lot of times with these vitamins and minerals, the RDA recommendation is woefully low. So look at what your bottle says and see how you're doing with the RDA.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's, what is she saying, too little?
Yeah, she's saying that she has 20 milligrams of B6 in her B complex.
I would say
She's
that's-
wondering if it is too little. Should she get a little more?
I think that sounds about right.
Okay.
For some of these, you don't need a lot of it. I would say that if you're feeling fine, then just go with what that particular thing says. Usually those B complexes are good.
Well, and she's also getting B vitamins from some of the keto foods that she's consuming. Would having bloating after having almond flour count as a histamine response, says Sherry? I would think so.
It could, or
gut health.
or it might be a gut health issue. So
Which are related.
they're related, yeah. So you would have other symptoms like constipation, diarrhea. If it was just like a digestive
Constipation
issue.
and diarrhea at the same time. I want to see how that works.
At the same time. No, that wouldn't work. But alternating, and like a feeling of excess fullness is a sign of gut health issues. So this is why it's so difficult to tell whether you've got a histamine intolerance or just gut health issues, because a lot of the symptoms are the same.
Constipation and diarrhea, we're going to now refer to as stop and go. MK says, cheese gave me skin issues. So sad. I love cheese. Yeah, the hard cheeses are what'd you say, aged cheeses
yeah.
can
like
be problematic.
Goat's cheese, yeah. Those
Right.
can be problems.
Yeah. Some foods make my nose run the moment I eat them. Is this a symptom that I'm sensitive to that food? Topper, we've already addressed that could be that you're having a histamine response to that food. So you may want to eliminate. He didn't say what that was.
It would depend on the food. So maybe make comment there what for particular food does that.
Steph Dodio says, hello, beautiful lady. Well, hello.
Hey, sweetheart.
Hello. Oh, you're talking about her. What about uncured or nitrate-free bacon? Does that matter, says low-carb keto for life?
I would say that would be fine because it's not
not
cured.
cured,
Yeah,
right.
so I would say that'd be fine.
Yeah. Leftover salmon is very high in histamine, says Dina. Did you know that?
Leftover salmon, interesting.
Is it maybe because it starts to ferment a little bit and some of the same issues with some of the other fermented foods?
I don't know. That's a good
Dina, if
question.
you know why, that's really interesting. I'm so glad I tuned in because I was having random acne and runny nose, and I thought it was related to the dairy I was consuming, says Liz. And it still could be.
It could be because, like I said, sour cream, any of your, like, of course we don't eat sourdough bread or anything like that, but sour cream can be an issue. I think cream cheese is okay. And then
butter's
okay.
And heavy cream.
Yeah, so if you're having responses to all of those things, then it's
dairy.
Yeah, then it's dairy. But if you just have problems with sour cream or any of your, like yogurt, anything like that, kefir, then it's probably a histamine response.
Okay. I don't know about histamine response, but too much avocado sends me running for the bathroom, says Russ. It could be digestive issues.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. What about anti-seizure medications? Do they interfere with the histamine pathway?
That is good.
We didn't see that on the list,
Antipsychotics, so I'm not sure if those...
Well, they're all neurodegenerative.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Possibly, yeah. I'm not positive.
Small red spots in the back of my arms. Could that be a histamine response, says Alberto? Any rash?
It could be, or that could be a fatty acid deficiency.
Uh-oh, you opened a can of worms, Alberto.
Yeah. So if you find that you have itching with that, then it's probably a histamine response.
Sorry, I'm having itching today. You had mentioned medications. I've been suspecting that my mom's blood pressure meds that she's been on for years may be complicating her issues. Was blood pressure medication on that list?
I didn't see blood pressure medication, but it gave just a general heart medication. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that
So
could
that's
fall under
related
it.
to heart. Yeah. So how long does it take for a certain type of food to show up as a histamine effect, says Angel's Lifestyle Choices? That's a great question.
Yeah, it depends on
Person to person.
It's
How bad their
person to
gut
person.
health is
Yep.
compromised.
Yep, and
How long you've been eating
how
said food.
often you're eating those foods.
Right.
So yeah, it's widely varied.
Yes. If you have general questions outside of the pinned comment, which is the histamine connection to your favorite keto foods, please email those. So I'm talking to you, Gay Trepes. She asked about normal glucose levels, fasting glucose. So email me, livinglowcarbman@charter.net, or you can just drop me a direct message here through Instagram. The small amount of sugar on sausage can create AGEs, advanced glycation end products is what that stands for, leading to a histamine response.
Yeah, so sweets is a big thing. So anything with sugar is definitely a no-no. Anything with preservatives is definitely a no-no. Yeah.
Awesome. This is a tough one. I'm studying to be a registered holistic nutritionist, and gut cleaning and keto has very limited choices, says Betty. It doesn't have to. We mentioned earlier about all the plethora of stuff you eat, right?
Yeah, so any of your fresh meats and certain fishes are okay. And again, you can find these foods easily online. And a lot of your vegetables are fine. So it's very easy to do a ketogenic diet.
And all the fats.
And have, and the fats. There are just certain forms of those, like the sour cream and the yogurt that you can't have. But, I mean, coconut oil is fine.
And butter and ghee
butter,
and lard and tallow. I mean,
yeah, all of those things are
pretty easy to be keto.
Yeah, all those things are fine. Now, I know there you may have certain likes and dislikes with the food. So in that instance, it may be harder, and it is hard. I mean, I have to admit, when I was doing the autoimmune protocol, I did feel really limited.
What did you eliminate?
A lot of those nightshades.
All the fun stuff.
All of the
Yeah, you liked your
strawberries.
peppers and
peppers, strawberries. I had to take out chocolate.
you didn't like tomatoes, so that was easy.
Yeah, that was easy. But nuts I had to take out, and dairy. So it can be hard. But I think as far as these histamine responses, it's a little bit better than doing the autoimmune protocol, because you can have a few more foods than you can on an autoimmune protocol.
It is fascinating, though, that a lot of these same foods that are sensitive for autoimmunity also are sensitive for this histamine issue. And again, I think the gut health connection might be the linkage between those.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you gotta get your gut healed up so you can, because I've said that 60% of your immune system is in your gut. So if you have an unhealthy gut, then you're going to have an unhealthy immune system.
Right. My last micronutrient panel I ran, B vitamins, they were all rich and wonderful. I believe that's because I mix up my meats. I eat organ meats that are rich in nutrients.
Oh yeah, your organ meats are so good, and so your
Yes.
leafy greens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good job, Russ. Good job. You inspire me, Christine. I'm going to apply for the NTA scholarship, says Jesse. Yeah.
Oh yay!
NTPs rock. Constipation and diarrhea is a thing with no gallbladder, LOL. Yeah, Betty, Christine knows all about that.
So yeah, in that instance, the diarrhea may be because you're not able to digest your foods
Right.
properly, and this is where a digestive enzyme
And
will
HCl
come
that
in
we
handy.
talked about last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how much I learned from you and now Christine. Thank you, Laumisha. Can both gut and histamine intolerances raise your cortisol? Yes.
Yes.
We talked about that, and vice versa. Having high cortisol can exacerbate both your gut health and your histamine tolerance. So
Yep.
Good stuff, good stuff. I don't know the mechanism for leftovers, only that histamine develops during storage. So I tolerate, Dina is
Yeah.
telling us why salmon,
Yeah.
leftover salmon might be a problem. So I tolerate freshly made fish, but react to leftovers a day or two later. That's
very
really interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't know that. You taught me something.
I know, right? One day my nose is running from bacon. The next day it's all good. It's like my histamine is inconsistent. Is it possible that you could eat it one day and not have a response and then eat it the next and have one?
Yeah, it could be that maybe one particular day you're not under as much stress, and so that's not interfering with how the diamine oxidase works. Yeah, so that's totally possible.
Yeah. All right, guys. So the bottom line in this Jimmy Ranch, I can't talk. I'm in like 29 hours of fasting now, so it's time to eat probably. But this Jimmy Rants / Nutritional Pearls podcast crossover episode is that there is a histamine connection. Maybe you haven't thought about histamines before. Hopefully after today's episode, you learn a little more about why you should know what histamines are and their connection to a lot of your favorite keto foods. So be aware of that. And if you start feeling symptomatic of some of the things we talked about here today, it could be a sign that you need to eliminate those things from your diet sooner than later, just to kind of see if it makes you feel better. So hopefully this helped you out. Thank you, Miss Christine. Again, how do
welcome.
they find you?
My website, rebootingyournutrition.com.
Awesome. And Nutritional Pearls podcast airs on Mondays. So listen to this on Mondays, nutritionalpearlspodcast.com. So that's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can hop over to that website and you'll see that we start off on Instagram Live. We had a lot of great engagement. Thank you guys for that today over on Instagram. So go follow me there. Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live with the content. But if you miss the live, it's all good. You can watch it for up to 24 hours. Definitely tell people about this one to watch it on the replay. So up to 24 hours on Instagram. After 24 hours, it does disappear. So go over to YouTube and you'll see all the past episodes. I want to say we're almost at like 170 episodes now. So go watch the past episodes over on YouTube. We also have a Jimmy Rants podcast where you can hear the best of the best moments of this here show over on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review there as well. All of this, you guys, is housed at JimmyRants.com. So until next time, we'll see you then.